Elaine, your mic! Hello, it's DC. I forgot to turn my mic on. Are we surprised? I'm not. I wish I was. I am just tired. Hello, Lynn. Hello, Sky. I'm so happy to see you. I'm trying so hard. I literally have never felt more empathy for Elaine Betteroff than I do every time I go live. I'm trying, Your Honor, I'm trying so hard. I'm trying, Your Honor. Ugh. So here's the deal. Here's what happened. I edited my live with the Young Living stuff. And I cut out a ton of time. And then I re-uploaded it, and it's going to be set as an instant premiere tomorrow because Mombi gave us the go-ahead from her informant that we're good to go. And all of the informants have watched it, I think. I don't know. Who knows? It's great. It's fantastic. Oh, man. We have sound. Blink, blink, blink. So that's uploading as an instant premiere for later today at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. And for my international buddies, I have no idea what time that is for you. So, I'm so sorry. I think you should be able to turn on like a notification, but the late night live crew has already suffered through this call, so we don't need to do it again. Oh my goodness. Lori, hello. I'm going to take another sip of my soda. So normally, if you're not doing too much editing, but I have to take out my breathing. And I had to take out other parts that didn't make sense because we weren't keeping it private. So I was like, I gotta take it out. It's like 30 extra minutes on top of the length of the video. So I got done, then I was late because my video was exporting. So, oh, we need to turn on our stream beats. Janet, good morning again. Go grab some caffeine. You're gonna need it. Janet, I love your cat so much. Oh man, I'm like hitting the top of my testing. I pick on Ashley Molstad so much for her audio, and I'm like, you can't even turn your mic on, you know? It's karma. I know it is. I accept it. Let's move on. Okay, so we have two options. We can check my email to see if we got sent a training call, or we can watch Autumn Calabrese. Or we can do whatever y'all want. Because I'm super stressed out with work, and I just wanted to come hang out with my buddies on the late night live crew. Gmail. I'm feeling a little stressed out, so I've got my hood on, got my earphones on, got my hat on, got my sweatshirt on. I'm 4 days behind in Animal Crossing. I guess I'll be playing that while listening. Yeah, I want to play Animal Crossing so badly, but I need to fix my audio for stream because I thought I had fixed it the other night. When I went back and listened, it was like static galore. So I know it must be hitting y'all on your end, because if I can hear it on the recording, and it's pretty significant, so I gotta go to my sock account. Oh shit. Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss. My heart dropped. Ashley Molstad. You're in. Well, that's not the training call I was hoping for. That's just her newsletter. Let's see. Where's my junk? Nope, don't have that. So we gotta do Autumn Calabrese. Waiting for a code from a colleague is so frustrating. Yeah, that is the worst. But you got it. Yay, a code just 2 days late. Lynn? I don't know what the appropriate punishment is, but maybe, as I mentioned in my previous email, maybe one of those would suffice. Oh. We're gonna do the reading of the lawsuit on Thursday with Kat Benson. So it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a blast. Oops, I think my audio is messed up. Okay. I was gonna try to fix my Animal Crossing, but I don't want to suffer through that. Sky, do you follow Console Kato on YouTube? She does Animal Crossing full time. Well, not full time. He already has his punishment. His grammar is atrocious, and I feel that is enough. That's so fair of you, Lynn. My previous employer took 3 days to tell me it wasn't working out, so I refused to eat there ever again. Are you serious, Sky? That's horrible. I may be jobless soon because I really screwed up at work, and I'm feeling it. It's totally my fault. I just feel low about it, you know? I feel so bad about it. Okay. I have my second monitor over here, but it doesn't help because... Alright, let's just go to YouTube. I don't know if I can do Autumn. I'm sorry, Sky. That's the worst. I don't even know who to watch. I just like lost my heart for Beachbody for a second. That podcast literally ruined my life this tonight, and the only good part was getting to talk to Cheryl, because the podcast was literally mind-numbing. It was so bad. Especially it was bad because you freaking have to pay for it. I don't even think I know about them. Yeah, Console Kato, she is a female YouTube streamer, and she does and we all fail at work sometimes. DC, how we own our mistakes, it's the most important thing. Yeah, I tried to own it. I just don't know if it's gonna be enough to recover from. And it's a weird combination to realize that you are fully in charge of the decisions you make, and having some very strong, overwhelming anxiety. Like, how do you account for that in the workplace, and and maybe getting more sleep would help. I'm just have insomnia sometimes. Hi, Janet. Oh, geez. Don't even listen to it. It's unlisted. It's unlisted for good reason. The only good part was Cheryl on the podcast, and I'm too close to my mic again. Ashley Molstad's private podcast on her Patreon. It's literally so bad. The worst part is you have to pay for it. I guess we could do Autumn Calabrese, but it's just, how much Beachbody can we do in one day? Goodness. I mean, I downloaded her videos, but I just don't want to be super enraged. I want to be halfway. We can listen to the Young Living podcast. We could do that. I mostly don't want to make any decisions, but I still want to stream at the same time. I should have figured this out. It's a new day for me, DC. I love that, Lynn. I need to figure out a new day. For me, too. Ah, Young Living. Okay, let's do Jacob's podcast. Okay, Google. Oi. I cannot wait to read the legal documents. We're gonna do it Thursday at 4. I know some of y'all will be asleep because of the time difference, but that's when Kat could do it, and so we're gonna make this a series. And I think I'm gonna try to read through all of them. So buckle up, because here's a sneak peek. Gary Young did surgery on people without a medical license. What? My puppy is having a hard time because my husband's out of town and he has anxiety. We both do. We are not functioning very well. Okay. The YL drop. 59 ratings. Should we go from the beginning? Why can't I hear myself? Oh, there I am. There I am. Yeah, Janet. Gallbladder removal with no medical license. And more. There was other stuff done with Bic pens. Wild. Insertion of essential oils in an end you would not want essential oils inserted into. You know what I'm saying? My watch told me that I reached my sleep goal this night. My body is highly disagreeing with that. I hate it when my electronics lie to me about stuff like that. I'm halfway done with the late night live crew video from the other day. Yeah, I'm gonna try to not stream as much. I don't know. I just don't feel like I'm doing YouTube right. Because mostly I just like hanging out with you guys. You know, which is like, everyone's all trying to like get views, and I'm like, I just want to go live and hang out with my friends and talk to all y'all. The Young Living drop. We need to... Sorry if you can hear me typing. I don't know how to fix it on my microphone. I think it's a type of microphone I have. It's good, but I don't know how to cancel the noise out, so... Young Living... No. I don't want to... Is it only on Apple Podcasts? No. I don't want it Spotify. What's Buzzsprout? Overcast? Oh, wait, can we listen here? A Man and His Horse featuring Mary Young. That sounds awful. The Power of Raindrop featuring Tamara Packer. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll just have to go in order. The Young Living Family Christmas featuring Mary, Jacob, Kate, and Joseph Young. Dang. We'll just do The Man and His Horse featuring... I don't know. Hi, Crystal. Oh, good. I'm glad y'all like my the quirks, and I'm like, this is horrible. Yeah, he is awful, especially when you hear about what happened to his baby. I've had my gallbladder removed, and I wouldn't want it done at home. Yeah, it's wild. Wild. Sorry, I'm just trying to move my monitor. I have to get a new mic stand or something. Oh, shoot. I cussed a little too much on my Young Living thing that I edited, so I had to bleep out myself. Einkorn, heck no. Okay.
Young Living's story is Gary Young's story, my father's story. And this past week at our global headquarters in Utah, we unveiled a statue of the founder and father of the modern-day essential oils movement. Along with the statue is a replica of the cabin where he became the man that would found Young Living. Hello and welcome to Young Living's podcast, The YL Drop. My name is Jacob Young, your host. Young Living is the world leader in producing and distributing premium essential oils. This podcast will provide you with drops of information about Young Living, including stories, history, products, lots of little fun facts, and even more. There will also be a chance to get some free products, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Today
like
we have a very
cabin and
special
statue.
episode of the
It's
podcast where we
creepy.
will play a portion of my mother's speech at the statue unveiling this week. She begins with that primal connection between a man and nature.
There was a horse by the name of Cannonball.
What is up with her microphone?
Cannonball was born with a defective leg, a foot,
Oh, this must be a speech somewhere.
a hoof. And Gary's father was a harsh mountain man, and he had no use for an animal that he couldn't use. So
Sorry,
he
hope
was going to
that's
put the
better.
horse down. And Gary begged his father to let him have the horse. Now, he would have been a very early teenager. He might not
Oh, that can't be a speech. I just heard a mouse click.
have even been a teenager yet. But he took that horse
She is, and I know how to do that because I
and
do it
he
all the
started
time.
to build a form.
You know, like I'm pretty picky. You know, I really try hard to make the audio sound better on my stream, and it's like I literally keep missing the mark. I'm like, do I need to take a class? Do I need to get like a tutorial? Man, play.
That he put on the horse's foot to turn the foot back to the normal place that it should be. And about every 2 months, he would make a new form for the horse's foot. And eventually, that foot turned until that horse could walk normally and could run like a real horse. And Gary told many, many stories about Cannonball. He told the story how after he graduated from high school, he went to the Middle Fork and worked for the Forest Service. And of course, Cannonball went with him with a pack of, actually they were donkeys, which Gary didn't think too much of. He thought they were kind of dumb, but they were good pack horses. And he was walking with Cannonball, and Cannonball started to act funny and his ears went up. And Cannonball knocked Gary off the trail they were on into the brush. And Gary got up, and this is Gary telling me the story, and he got up and he looked at Cannonball and he talked to him like he was a human being. And he understood Cannonball when he would talk back. And he really chewed him out and he said, "What are you doing? You never do things like that. Why would you knock me over?" And then he heard this and a rattler struck and bit Cannonball in the leg.
Oh, hell.
Cannonball knew that snake was there, and he knocked Gary out of the way so that Gary would not be struck by this snake. So Gary hurried and rushed back to camp and began milking the leg, and he gathered all the herbs from around the bush, white willow bark, and different things, and he made a poultice. He kept his leg in cold water from the creek, and he would milk it to get the poison out. And then he would wrap it with the poultice that he made. And then he'd go to do his duties of clearing the trail.
I have very little patience for Mary Young after the book stuff, but also she and Gary Young told everybody that that they took her out of menopause and she gave birth at like 53 and 57 or something. What? Mombi has a document on it. Oh, we need a radio. You're right. I just felt discouraged by everything, so I don't know why. I'm just like, maybe because I don't like messing up. Maybe that's what's wrong. She's had a pretty decent voice. I think she was like trained in opera singing or something. I mean, it's very traditional. Yeah, it's wild. I have been recommended this podcast. I never listened to it while I was in Young Living. Oh, maybe it's only been out a year. I thought there was a different one. There's a different one with like scientists or something. And they talk about the science of essential oils. There's an account called Science of Essentials, but it's not the same one. I don't know. It's irritating listening to her after that whole situation with the book and the newsletter she sent out but didn't send out, and endorsing the book, and I'm just like, ugh, the story. I feel bad for the horse.
Service, which was his responsibility. And he said, Cannonball, I'll be back. Now you stay here and you be a good boy. And don't follow me. You have to stay here. You can't walk on your leg. And he said when he would come home, and this went on for about a week, he'd come back to camp, and before he got around the bend, Cannonball was nickering, and he could hear him just carrying on. He was so excited for Gary to return. This was Gary's great love growing up as a child. Horses were everything. Cannonball was everything to him. The end of the story goes...
No, I screwed up big time at work. I didn't manage my anxiety like I should have, and I was putting things off. And I know how to accommodate for like who I am as a person, and I think like what I was unexpected is I wasn't expecting for the news that we were gonna like move to Japan so soon, and I think like it was so unexpected, and I was like, I'm having a hard time processing it, and when I get like this, I like am not as fastidious as I need to be, so I was late on several projects, and it wasn't good. It was not good. So I don't know if it's gonna be a job ender situation or what's gonna happen. I apologized. I got the information to the people that needed it. But I have a meeting with both of my bosses tomorrow, so I may just be... I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm just disappointed in myself, and mostly just disappointed in myself. And you know, it's okay to feel bad when you've done something that you gotta learn from and not do next time.
When he moved to Canada, he took Cannonball with him. And one day, when Gary was not there, rustlers came in and stole Cannonball.
What?
And some of the other horses.
Stolen?
And he was gone. They combed the forest. They combed the mountains. And 3 years went by, and Cannonball was gone, which was a horrible experience for Gary. Well, one afternoon, there was a truck that pulled up with this mangy-looking horse.
Thank you, Lynn.
In the back. And they unloaded this horse, and this neighbor said, Gary, I think this might be your horse, Cannonball. And his mane was very long.
Yep, we are getting stationed in Japan. We were supposed to be here for next year and the year after, but something ended up happening where my husband applied for an early role because the position he was supposed to take over was not going to become available like he thought. And in the Navy, you have to make promotions to be able to retire. So he has to do certain things on his resume before he can go before the board. So he applied, which Japan is a really hard job to get, supposedly, and they ended up giving it to him. So we're moving at the beginning of next summer. So I'm going to take all my streaming equipment to Japan. And I'm going to go visit Lynn. So
his feet had never been trimmed, and he looked like something that had never seen society, never seen a human being. And he was offish.
Hi,
he was a
Tish,
little
what's
bit
up?
afraid. And Gary stood back
yeah,
and
we're
talked
in
to
Old
him
Western now.
like he always talked to him. And Cannonball recognized his voice.
Y'all, Tish is the best. She has a channel called Echo Echo, and if you are the type of person who loves consistent uploads and incredible commentary, and the speaker just makes you feel like welcome and excited to be there, Tish is your girl. She is from Australia, and she has a delightful accent, and she also has spicy, pointed commentary. And I need to I need to link her in my description, but she's great.
And Cannonball very slowly trotted up to Gary,
way, Tish,
and he
that's
looked him in the
crazy.
eyes. And Gary said he started to cry, and Cannonball put his head on Gary's shoulder, and they were reunited. But Cannonball had been in the wild for 3 years, so he was restless. He wasn't happy being in a corral again. And Gary recognized that wildness in the horse. So he opened the gate, and he said, "Cannonball, go. I know you want to be out there in the wild. Go."
This is a
And Cannonball
sad
walked
story.
through the gate, ran to the edge of the forest, turned around and looked at Gary, and disappeared among the trees. 2 days later, Cannonball came back, and he never left. And he died there on the ranch and was buried up there on the ranch.
This is so
What does
sad.
that tell you about the soul of an individual? When Jonathan and I started talking, and Jonathan said, "Mary, I want to create a masterpiece. I want to create something that will really honor the legacy of Gary Young."
My alley cat is so well fed at this point. He sits on my window unit and will start meowing for more food, but he's so big at this point that he is tilting my unit down. I'm gonna have to put a little block underneath it, and he will not leave. He stays up all night with me, sitting outside the window.
Drove up to Midway, where he and his wonderful wife Leanne live, and Leanne is back here with camera, and she took lots and lots of pictures, and I know Jonathan cannot do what he does without Leanne. She's his standby, his partner, his pal.
Oh yeah, Tish has great videos. She's covered iGenius, Rakan, and Jesse Lee. She's covered Veronica Bay. She's covered Dominic Izzo. She's covered W Fab, I think. I mean, the range of Tish is incredible. She makes great videos, and she makes a lot of videos, and they're great.
His best friend, and we became really good friends going up there so many times. And Jonathan,
Tish, what are you using, OBS, or what are you using to have the audio and the video on the same screen on your computer?
sculpted what you're going to see in wax first. And the horse's legs were gone, so the horse was lower to the ground, and it was on a piece of wood that could pivot, so you could move it around, and you could take the head off, and Leanne would go up, climb the ladder, and take Gary's head off and bring it down so Jonathan could work on it. It's kind of funny to talk about, but it was really astounding to see. I'd never seen anything like that before. But I would like Jacob to come up and tell you what his first reaction was when we walked through the door.
Oh yeah, Frasier broke.
My dad always had a very powerful presence with him whenever he walked into any building, into any room. And
Lynn, you're amazing.
everybody knew when Gary was in the building. There was just kind of...
Why does he call his dad Gary? I'm just wondering. No, Lynn, you have the best jokes.
It was almost a sixth sense that everybody had when he walked into the building. And after my father had passed away, that feeling had kind of left and gone and has slowly started to come back over time. But it was amazing because the first time that we walked in there after Jonathan had sculpted most of his body and he was headless, which was a little freaky too, that feeling and that presence came back for the first time since he had passed away, which was just unreal to me.
An inanimate object that was created in the exact likeness of your dad brought the presence of your dad back to Young Living. I am cautious by nature, I guess. I don't know. I screen recorded my laptop camera just with it on the not recording with the video I'm watching beside. I was using StreamYard, but have kept. Tish, try OBS. It's free. That's what I would recommend. You don't have to stream to anything. You can just record straight on your computer in OBS. I've had really good success with clarity. If you are looking for something else where you're going to be able to set your inputs. Not that you're asking for advice. I'm just poking my nose where it doesn't belong, but Gary walked into the building and everyone knew there because the birds were singing and the wind was blowing his flowing locks and a light shone above him from his halo. Maybe.
It's hard to replicate and to paint a perfect picture of somebody else's loved one.
It's always frustrating having an echo, so I was just trying to give some tips because I've run into it a ton. What's going on?
Family, sibling, whatever it may be. To a lot of people, it may look identical, but to the family member, there's still something that's quite off. And Jonathan took a lot of time in making sure that the body, the face, the posture, the presentation was exactly like how my dad was. And it literally is my dad. It's amazing what you've done, Jonathan. I truly thank you for that, and Leanne, all your help as well. But when you see the statue, and for those of you who have seen it, I'm sure you have felt that presence as well with him. So that's something that you just cannot make up or replicate. Truly very impressive. So thank you.
This must be some kind of ceremony for the unveiling of the... Do we want to look at I want to look at a picture? I sure do. Oh my God. Where is it? I know I'm too close. Oh, here's the video of it. We could have watched a video, sorry. Where's the picture? Oh, my land. You know what? I'll just show it up here. Add source. I'm gonna make it bigger, don't worry. Okay. Y'all see that? What? That is what was carved. I'm guessing. And that does not look... Okay, I'm not going to be rude. This is episode 7, but on the podcast, it's episode 1. Y'all see that? Yeah, they're building it is what the Young Living building up to a real life Ghostbusters story. I think so. Oh, need to move over or something.
Jonathan, as Jacob just told you, was very exacting about how it had to be. He studied pictures. He had pictures of Gary from all different angles and everything. And he kept saying, I just can't quite get the nose right. And I said, tell you what, I'll bring Joseph up and you can look at Joseph. Joseph, come and tell them what it was like for you. Come on. You know how shocking it was when we walked through that door the first time.
It's good to see you, Jonathan. First of all, I want to say that. Yeah, basically, the reason why my mom brought me is because apparently I have my dad's nose. So get a good look at it, because this is beautiful right here. But basically, she brought me in, and there was this huge statue. It was like, wow. And then he told me, hey, just sit down so that I can look at your nose. And I was like, oh, that's a first. So I sat down and closed my eyes, and he just got my nose. And after you got the whole face, I felt it and I looked at it. You got it spot on. It was beautiful. And I don't know how you do it. You've been truly blessed by God.
When you see the statue, it's really interesting because the lower part of the face is Jacob and the top part of the face is Joseph. It's an interesting combination, but it truly looks like Gary. Gary said to me, Mary, whatever you do, don't you make a statue of me. And I said, don't worry, I won't. Well, when Jonathan and I started talking, and we talked with Liz down at the farm, the first idea was that he would make a statue of Gary as a knight. For those of you who have seen Gary joust down at the farm, you know how much he loved that.
Joust?
And he wore that look very well.
Okay.
He looked just like something out of history.
Okay.
And we started, and Jonathan made me a small...
Karina, have you seen Momby's stories when she's posted that Gary Young claims that he brought Mary Young out of menopause to have Joseph and what her others, Jacob? Because that's absolutely wild. We don't have those figures in Norway, not as far as I know at least, but we have Lego, lots and lots of Lego. I love Legos. Tell me you're in a cult and think a dead loser with a fetish for enemas is a god without telling me you're in a cult and think a dead loser with a fetish for enemas is a god. Things that never happened for 500, Alex. When my son became a teenager, we gave away 4 of those Lego totes full of Legos. Janet. I love Legos. I really want to buy some and just put some together. I think my brother ended up with all my Legos for his kids. Oh, Young Living is a cluster. I'm a little scared about the video that's premiering tomorrow because if Young Living finds it, they're gonna know who I am because I don't use my legal name on YouTube, and I'm nervous.
A beginning of Gary as a knight, and I looked at it and I just got this gut feeling. This is not my Gary.
It cost a lot.
Gary was a cowboy. Gary was a mountain man. Gary was a lover of horses. He was a lover of nature. So Jonathan had already started, and we talked, and I said, Jonathan, this isn't right. You got to do it as Gary really was, what was in his heart. Well, Jonathan didn't have any problem with that because Jonathan's an old cowboy at heart, too. He grew up on a ranch. Well, Gary used to sneak out of the house when he was 12 and 13 and 14 and take his horse, Cannonball, and ride through the mountains hanging onto the mane with all the wild horses. They'd go and look for the wild Mustangs, and he'd ride through the trees, and I just think, oh, Gary, how could you do that? And he'd say, I just kept my head low, and the horse knew where it was going. Oh, my goodness, who grows up like that? Gary. We met many times with Jonathan, and we became great friends. We found out that we thought a lot alike. We felt the same way about things. And we just had wonderful hours together. And I said to Jonathan, you know, Gary told me he didn't want a statue. Now, you can take this for what it's worth.
I love
But Jonathan said to me, well, Gary comes and visits me all the time.
My allowance.
He stands over my shoulder. And Mary, he told me he's very pleased with the statue. He's very happy about it.
What?
That made me happy.
What?
Jonathan has a lot of...
What?
should we call it? He's very perceptive. He's very intuitive. He has a connection to the other side.
If you are pro that, I apologize. I am not trying to offend you. I'm very leery. I'm very wary of things like that. I'm very wary of creating this idea that the person that has kept your company profitable and quote unquote thriving has been around and speaking to the person who has sculpted your statue, and that your whole family is promoting this idea that the spirit of Gary Young has come back to Young Living in 2021. I'm leery.
And he definitely had a connection with Gary. And he felt like Gary was pleased when he did certain things, and he could tell when Gary wanted him to change something when it wasn't quite right. I don't know, that's amazing. But as Jacob said, Jonathan was blessed with a gift from God. And you watch him how he worked with his fingers, how he moved the wax, how he added pieces of wax, how he took it away. And at first, Gary wasn't as bulky as in the wax figure. And Jacob was the first one to point that out. And he says, no, Dad was much bigger. And we all know Gary was extremely broad and powerful in his Wesen, that's a German word, in his being. And so Jonathan created exactly how we guided him, and he looked at the pictures and he could see it. Yeah, you're right, Jacob. And so when we went back the next time, we were so thrilled because it looked just like Gary.
We're going to take a short break now to give you a chance to get some free product. One of the blends that was most important to my father later in his life and throughout most of his life was Trauma Life, an oil blend that he made for himself in hopes that it would also help others cope with trauma, hence the name. So for a chance to win this special oil to the life and legacy of Gary Young, go over to this episode on YouTube, episode 7, or if you're already listening on YouTube, head down to the comments and type #TraumaLife for your chance to win this bottle. Now let's get back to Mother Mary's story.
Yeah,
cabin.
You're gonna give one bottle away of Trauma Life? You want to know how much that is? We're gonna find out. Young Living. 56.75 for the discounted price, $74.67 for the retail price. You're gonna tell me that is a good present for leaving a comment on a YouTube video? Are you serious? Yeah, it's called Trauma Life Essential Oil, and it is Used Trauma Life contains sandalwood, frankincense, valerian, black spruce, divana, lavender, geranium, helichrysum, lime, and rose essential oils. Rose is the most expensive essential oil that Young Living sells. It is over $200 for 5 milliliters. With its soothing, peaceful aroma, Trauma Life is a perfect addition to any tough situation. It is often the oil blend of choice during the precious moments at the beginning of life or at the end of life. Black spruce has a grounding aroma. Frankincense is elevating to the mind. Rose helps create positive emotions. Sandalwood helps center emotions. Valerian is emotionally balancing. Can you believe I signed up for this shit? That's why it's still so hard to do Young Living stuff. Because it makes me so upset. Do we know he's abroad? Do we? $74.67 without the discount? What am I doing?
Actually drew
This is
the
so
design
boring.
for the blueprints. And he gave those blueprints to Kevin Schultz, who's with us.
Yeah.
And Kevin, of course, is the architect of this big, beautiful building. And Kevin became great friends with Gary. Gary had been
Crystal.
drawing the design for this building.
$214 with the discount. But guess how much PV it is? It's only $105.25 PV. It's a ripoff.
Since, I don't know, since we first started in Young Living. But he never went forward with it because the money always had to go to the farms. So when it came time, he said, well, I need to find an architect. And he interviewed several, and he hit it off with Kevin. And Kevin took Gary's drawings, and out of that created what you see here. But this is Gary's building. Kevin just made it spectacular. Well, Gary went to
Generally what
Kevin
architects do.
with his drawings for the cabin, and I guess he had in his mind, he wanted people to see the comparison, see what he grew up in, and what his perseverance allowed him to.
I mean, I want to throw my whole computer in the trash at this point. I mean, I'd keep my camera so I could take pictures of my dog, but I'm just like, forget it. We're just done. They claim that there's like 5 pounds of rose petals in 5 milliliters of rose oil. My upline gifted me a rose oil, if you can believe it. And I don't think you can get it with low loyalty rewards. I don't know what's going on with my voice. I think I've been live streaming too much. I'm not sure. I'm trying to like not yell, but I don't know what's going on. Does Kevin see Gary too?
Create. This is it's an exact replica of the cabin where Gary grew up in his early years. Well, it's newer. Well, some of the stuff is pretty old in there. But it's truly, I think the cabin's a little work of art. But when you look at it, and then you look at our beautiful headquarters, it causes you to wonder, what kind of a person was this who could...
You know what type of person it was. You were married to him, as respectfully as I can say that. You were married to him. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know if I'm becoming jaded or if I need to like add something to the mix of anti-MLM stuff, because Young Living has been just making me so angry. And Beachbody has been making me so angry. It's a weird combination to, one, feel angry towards a multi-level marketing company, and to also feel like, am I going to regret what I'm saying about this company? Am I being fair? And sometimes I don't feel like I'm being fair, and I'm just being mean.
Grow up with nothing in the absolute depths of poverty and create something like this. It sends a message to the world. It sends a message to anyone who has the ability to go into themselves and ask, who am I? What can I do with my life? Gary went to Canada when he was 19 with the intention of carving a life for himself out of the wilderness. He was a logger, a rancher. He had everything he wanted.
I was wrong. That was a BS answer. Who said it? I don't know who said it, but guess what? It takes 22 pounds of rose petals to produce one 5-milliliter bottle of rose essential oil. So I was wrong. It's not 5 pounds. It's 22 pounds. You know, being out of Young Living for April, May, June, July, August, 4 months now. I read some of this stuff and I'm like, what was I thinking? I don't know what I was thinking.
He was totally happy. He even told me at one time he was wondering what he would do next because he had achieved every dream he had put out there by the time he was 22 or 23 years old. At 24, when he was high in the mountains logging in 10 feet of snow, and Gary had the most amazing idea. He would cut the tree out like this, one after another, just get it to the edge where it would topple. And then he'd...
I need to watch those, Tish, because I need to add something good into this mix, because it is very discouraging to feel like you're not making a difference. You're just butting up against companies who don't give a shit about the customers. It's just wild. Thanks, Sky.
50 trees, and then the first tree at the top, he would cut it, and he said it was like a domino effect. When all the trees crashed to the ground, he said it's like the earth shook. He said it was such an energizing, exciting feeling. But you know,
she has a background in the theater. That's, I think, why she is so dramatic when she speaks. I think it's her background in the arts. So
what happened that morning? One of the branches sheared off and hit him right here in the head. And he said he remembered him descending through the snow until he blacked out.
Thanks for saying that, Crystal.
He was in a coma for probably about 3 to 4 weeks in the hospital. His parents were told he would never walk again. If he lived, he would be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. I told you the story about Cannonball to help you understand the mind of this man who was told he would never walk again. Can you imagine the depression? Wanting to get out of life? And Gary said, I'm either going to get out of this wheelchair or I'm getting out of life, but I am not going to live like this. He tried to commit suicide 3 times. The 3rd time, he decided he could fast himself to death because no one could save him from fasting. And you know what the doctor said? Dr. Buckley at Vancouver General said, it's a phenomena of the human body that when it didn't get the nutrients, that the nerves rerouted and reconnected and gave feeling in his toe. That sparked a light at the end of the tunnel. He saw a possibility.
Apologies, I didn't realize they were going to be talking about unaliving themselves.
When he got out of the hospital, his father built, what do you call it, where they had the rails, bars for athletes. Well, he built those for him, and every day he would spend hours and hours and hours hanging on to those bars, moving his legs, walking back and forth and back and forth. Gary never lived a painless day from the time of the accident. But he never talked about it. He never told anyone. He was never one to complain because he always saw the light at the tunnel. He always saw where he was going. He always saw how he was going to succeed. He recognized that he was not able to go back to the mountains. He couldn't go back and be a logger again. He couldn't ride his horse again. But he dreamed of riding his horse again. He put that image out. He moved back to the United States, went to Spokane, got back into school, and started studying the human body.
What a way to twist what he did in Spokane. What a... Do y'all know what happened? He was married. And his wife was pregnant. And... trigger warning, just mute it. I will wave my hand when I'm done talking. They had a at-home birth in his little center, I think that he had opened, or it was either at his home, and he had a hypothesis that if the baby was still attached to the umbilical cord, that it could breathe underwater. And so he killed his kid.
Desire to find things that would help him heal his own body. He went to Mexico, had a clinic.
It was his first wife. She divorced him over it. And then he got with Mary, who was in another multi-level marketing company. And they connected and they got married. So
there, began studying the human body, studying the blood through the microscope analysis that he learned in Germany from a magazine ad that he saw while he was sitting in the wheelchair checking out in the grocery store. Doctor discovers how to heal the body through analysis of the human blood. He got on a plane, wheelchair and all, and went to Germany to learn how. Came back and started.
it's not you. I'm just. I feel like Young Living should care about the history of their company. And people who bring up questions about that are just gaslit. And practicing medicine without a license is very dangerous. And they continue to do it.
Doing that with those who came from word of mouth about this young kid from the mountains who was studying the human body, who walked again, who was told he would never walk again. It was there that he was introduced to essential oils. He believed that what he found was something that belonged to the world, not talking from one person to the next person to the next person. He wanted to share it with the world. He sold everything he had there, moved back to the United States, and evolved what we have today, Young Living Essential Oils. It's a very long story that ends here.
She forgot the part that we heard on the call on Tuesday, or was it Tuesday? Was it Monday? Where, maybe it was Sunday night, where Gary Young tried essential oils and they didn't work for him in the 80s. And then he went to England or overseas and found oils that did work for him. So what's the right story? Which one are we supposed to believe? I mean, y'all need to get your story straight.
When I look at this statue, I can see the triumph in the face of this man who was told he would never ride his horse again. You can feel that power, that excitement, that glorious moment.
This statue must have cost $25,000+. It's big. It took a long time to carve. It looks like it's bronze cast. I mean, I would say it's probably between $25,000 and $50,000.
Have triumph over a beaten, battered, and broken body with a prognosis of never walking again. For me, it's a glorious opportunity. I wish I could tell that story to everyone who comes, because it is a marvelous, unique, one-of-a-kind story of someone overcoming the absolute impossible. Gary never believed in the impossible. Nothing was impossible.
There is some limitations for things, and that's the problem. That's one of the big problems. When you don't go through the necessary education. Let's take medical education for an example. Becoming a doctor, becoming a specialist. The reason you learn limitations is because it is protecting and advocating for the patient. You understand the scope, and then there's obviously new things that get created and new procedures are developed all the time. But when you refuse to go through that training, you're just practicing and pretending when people have already done all of those things when they were learning all of the things that we've figured out in the medical field before. He was running over the same ground that's already covered and already conquered. And he was too lazy. I say lazy because you're doing surgeries. And you're practicing medicine without a license. I don't have any grace for it. I don't.
For him. And for Gary, God was his partner. Everything he did was in communication with God. He believed that the mountains were God's living room. And when he wanted to communicate with God, he would saddle up his horse where we live in Alpine, and he would go to the mountains, and he'd say, Mary, I have to go talk to God. When he came back, he was excited and enthusiastic and had all kinds of ideas. I never asked him any questions, and he never told me what happened. It was his time with God in the mountains. You can feel that when you see him on this horse. I am blessed that I am surrounded by so many fabulous people in Young Living who helped me do what he did as a one-man band. There wasn't anything he couldn't do except sing. But he loved my singing, so that was good enough for him. But he could do everything. And he was the first one to have his hands in the dirt, the first one to pick up the chainsaw, the first one to hop on the bulldozer, the first one to load the distillery, the first one to turn the motor on the engine on, the power on, the first one to take the oils out, the first one to put them in the bottle, the first one to write the label and slap the label on, the first one to put it in the box and ship it out. He was the first one always. And people marveled at him. And he said, Mary, I live life every day as if it's my last, because God gave me another chance. And my mission is to take the healing power of essential oils to the world and serve God's children. And he did that to his last breath. And the last thing he asked for when he was in the hospital was, Mary, bring me some Trauma Life, a beautiful essential oil blend that he formulated.
Oh, hell.
He had a knowing. He knew he was going to leave this earth. And he said, Mary, I can help you better from the other side. You can do it. And I'd say, no, I can't. And he says, yes, you can. Don't say can't. That was a word not allowed in our home. But we are doing it. And I'm doing it because of all of you who are here. Be you employees at Young Living, be you the messengers out in the field, wherever you are, whatever you do, we are doing it. And Young Living is an entity that is uplifting and bringing peace and happiness and a new way of life to people around the world. And I'm grateful that I'm still alive. I have to be, because I have 2 sons who need me, because they will walk in their father's shoes. They are walking already. They have a deep love of their father. They have a deep love of what he stood for, of honesty and integrity, and they walk that path. They speak their truth. I might have a little trouble with my 17-year-old, but he's getting it figured out. This is a young man who wants to give everything he has to everyone else to help those in need. He's a junior ambassador for our foundation, and Colby's kind of taken, Colby Olds has kind of taken both the boys under his wing and is guiding them through their path in Young Living. Jacob's working in marketing. He's the one who has the Young Living podcast, and he's doing a great job with that big, beautiful voice of his. So it's an exciting time for us, and this is a moment that we didn't think would ever come. But it's here, and it's not in the middle of winter when it's freezing cold, so I'm grateful for that. I'm extremely grateful for Jonathan, for the association, the friendship that we built. And it's exciting for him because he's lived with many, many, many challenges in his life. But he just goes forward, seeing the positive, always with success, with enthusiasm, with knowing how to make it happen. And because of that knowing in his soul, we have this moment today to honor Gary with this beautiful statue. Thank you all so much for coming and being a part of it and letting me tell you our story. I don't get to tell this very often, but I hope that every time you come here and you walk past the statue, you remember the great spirit that brought this piece of work to life. So thank you all so much, and let's go do it.
The D. Gary Young statue atop his horse Sundance was unveiled outside the Young Living Global headquarters here in Utah. Among some of the other things that you can visit here at corporate are the Research and Development Center, the beautiful museum that dedicates and shows my father's life and history research of essential oils, as well as our greenhouse to see all little plants that are being grown, and now and recently unveiled as well is our one-of-a-kind mini full distillation system. There's so many unique experiences that you can come see and experience for yourself here at Global Headquarters. So please make sure to come on down. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the YL Drop. Remember, you can listen on iTunes, Spotify, on YouTube, and our newly refurbished website at youngliving.com. Don't forget to oil up Young Living family. This is Jacob Young, dropping out.
It is. If you are Mormon, do not come for me. Here's what I understand about the Mormon religion was based on a grouping of other religions and Christianity and what's it called? Some other like organizations, and a lot, and Young Living is has some of those same ideas, because Gary Young was Mormon, and so is Mary and Jacob and Joseph. Don't forget to oil up you. Yeah. It's kind of like if, I don't know. It's weird, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be offensive to other religions. When I looked at the history of it, I do not understand it. I don't understand the people that have been harmed in it. I don't understand the logic to be able to take all of these wives and young girls have been harmed. I cannot wrap my head around it. And that's okay if that is not the case now, that they don't have that anymore. Again, it's one of those things, the history is still there. I don't understand it. I know a lot of religions have similar histories. A lot of things have been warped. I'm pro like love and justice. So it's hard to understand some things. And again, I'm not trying to be hateful. I'm not trying to be small-minded. I'm saying those are my limitations. Young Living makes me so mad. And I'm very sorry. I'm very accepting. If I offended you, I'm very sorry. Well, I think that I'm going to sign off and play Animal Crossing. The premiere for the Young Living video is going to be up tomorrow at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Mom B and I are trying to get some eyes on it so other people see what Young Living is doing. I know a lot of y'all have already watched it, but if you could like it again and comment, I would really appreciate it. I'm sorry I'm crying. Like, this company, like, really upsets me. Yeah. Y'all are the best. Live chat. Thanks for hanging out. I'm just gonna sign off and I will see y'all tomorrow. And again, I just want to reiterate that everyone's welcome here. I'm having a hard time.